How's it going, good people? My name's Pedro, and today we're going to be looking at the Oculus Quest 2, which is essentially Oculus's latest and greatest headset in their lineup. Now, I know the Quest has been out for some time, and I know there's a lot that's been going on in the past with the Facebook integration, but I decided to pick up the Oculus Quest for a couple of reasons, and the biggest of which is the fact that there has been a lot of improvements in the Quest ecosystem around compatibility with computers, through to just the games and the experiences you can have out there that I think put the Quest in a very favorable position for a lot of buyers out there. And I think we'll talk about all that and more, but without further ado, let's jump into it. Now, I know the Quest 2 has been out for a while, and in the past there's been a bit of drama with the whole Facebook and Oculus integration, but I think today the Quest really has the potential to be the VR headset that everyone should and possibly can buy. I mean, in the light of the pandemic, with a lot of people being at home more often, there's never a better time to potentially escape from the four walls that you're all living in right now and effectively venture off into the unforeseen world of virtual reality. The Quest 2 supports a single fast-switching LCD panel with a resolution of 1832 by 1920 per eye. Along with that as well, the refresh rate on the Quest 2 can go all the way up to 120 Hz, along with having a USB-C connector for easy charging, and finally, to round it off, it is also built on the XR2 platform from Snapdragon. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about sort of my experiences, the good and the bad, but before we do that, I just want to take a second to just sort of explain what is the exact setup that I've been using. So for the headset itself, I've been using it for the last 2 weeks or so. I've been using it wirelessly to connect through to my gaming PC. For reference, that has a GTX 1080 Ti along with a Ryzen 2700X CPU. So that should give you a pretty good indicator to how VR performance will be, and I gotta say there's a little bit of work to get it set up wirelessly, but once you do all of that, it's pretty seamless. I can pretty much hit one button on my computer, and then I'm pretty much ready to jump into VR from anywhere in my house, really. And I think that leads us pretty well into our next talking point, the good things. Now, when it comes to the headset out here, I think it is an affordable build and really has a lot of functionality that they're packing into a very, very small, compact, and relatively cheap packaging. So the Quest 2 comes in at about 500 Australian dollars, which I think would translate to about 350 USD, which in comparison to the headsets of yesteryear, looking at the HTC Vive, the HTC Pro, and having a look at the original Rift, the price on the Quest has really come down phenomenally. And I think it's gotten to the point now where the price has come down and I really don't think you're sacrificing on all that much. Sure, there's a little bit of setup to use it wirelessly, but for reference, setting up some of the initial HTC Vive headsets took forever, where you actually need to have a proper large space to play with your headset. You had cables coming off the back of the headset, keeping you physically tethered to your computer. Along with that, there are the several other base stations that you all need to come together and set up, and all of that would come at a fairly large cost. Compare that out to the Quest 2, where if you don't have a PC, it's really fine. For the 500 Australian dollars that you're paying for it, you can literally just chuck the headset on and you're pretty much good to go. You can play a bunch of other games like Beat Saber, things like a PUBG sort of battle royale variant in VR, not to mention any of the countless other experiences you can get in VR itself. Things like watching Netflix, things like being in a cinema, things like three-dimensional movies which actually put you in the center of the action. I think the Quest 2 has a lot to offer from this regard, and all of this coming in at a very, very affordable price point. And now, to double back a little bit on something that I was saying before, is the actual setup on the Quest is probably one of my favorite things possible. Like I mentioned, it took a little bit of time to set up the wireless connectivity to my PC itself, but after that, it is almost seamless, where I can literally launch one application on my PC and I'm pretty much good to jump into VR. Conversely, I can also just use the headset on itself, so that way if I don't want to turn on my PC or I don't even want to mess with any of the connections there, I still have a wide variety of games that I can play on the headset itself. And it's obvious that Facebook and Oculus are putting a lot of effort into making sure this ecosystem is robust, is feature rich, and is having experiences that are going to keep people coming back time and time again. If you compare this out to effectively what the whole VR landscape looked like even 2 to 3 years ago, it is night and day difference. You now have games that people can actually play and people want to come back and play time and time again single player and multiplayer experiences are all supported on this one platform now. And I think that in itself is truly, truly phenomenal. And the Quest has really, really done an amazing job to package all of that into a simple to use, user-friendly experience that doesn't require any extra setup. All you literally have to do is outline the area that you're playing in and you're good to go. This is a frictionless setup and almost an Apple-esque experience to get from nowhere to using VR, which I think is phenomenal for the vast majority of users, because not everyone who'll be picking up a VR headset will be technical. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm pretty excited about the Quest 2. There is a lot of good to be had from this headset. Now, I would be amiss if I outlined all of the good without even touching a little bit on some of the pain points or some of the difficulties I had when using the Quest 2. Now, the first major problem I had when it came to the Quest 2 was essentially the actual setup of the lenses itself. On many of the past headsets that you can get, you can effectively adjust the physical spacing of the lenses to be exact for what you need as the end user. This would mean you would have quite literally millimeter configurations of moving the lenses independently to effectively have the best setup for your eyes, whether you would have eyes that are further apart or eyes that are closer together. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Quest 2, you have literally one of 3 adjustment settings in this. You have something that is very close together, somewhat in the middle, and somewhat further out. I think a great little thing that could be done for the Oculus team is to help and improve that by adding maybe a 4th or a 5th setting in there. Something that would be a little more in between from the 2nd and 3rd and the 1st and 2nd. That way it would give a lot more flexibility. But I understand from the price point of this device that there are corners that need to be cut to keep it under that $500 AUD price point, which for me personally, the headset worked fine. It took me a little bit to find the right setting for me, and on a whole, I didn't really have any issue at all. But I can understand for some other people who maybe have eyes that aren't falling in the one of 3 slots that are allocated for you, there can definitely be a bit of pain points to have there and could potentially cause to ongoing headaches or any sort of discomfort using a VR for an extended period of time. So now the last and probably my biggest concern when it comes to the Quest 2 has to be around the data integration and the Facebook accounts that are needed for an Oculus Quest. Now, I understand that it is a big push from Facebook, and in a couple of years time, you will need a Facebook account to own and use a Quest. Now, I can get around the whole social features and even integrate with Facebook and making it easy to find other people in the Oculus ecosystem. But one thing that I am definitely worried about is the types of data that Facebook will now have on me. Now, I'm a very big fan when it comes to digital rights management and effectively knowing what data is being consumed about you as an individual user. And I think that it is very needed for Facebook to at least let people know what data they're collecting and potentially give us the ability to limit that data collection if need be. Now, I don't think this is the worst thing ever, but I do get worried when it comes to any malicious or anti-consumer behavior that can be pushed from this data being collected from us as individual users. All right. So now let's bring this all back together and understand from an end user consumer, is it worth picking up the Oculus Quest 2? So now I've been using the headset for about 2 weeks now. There are definitely good things and there are definitely bad, but all in all, I feel like the Quest 2 is poised to be able to be the best VR headset for many users. It is cheap enough to the point that it's accessible for a lot of people. It's cheaper than most of the major console releases that have come out recently. You don't need a dedicated computer to be able to use this headset. And if you do have a computer, there are definitely avenues for you to access that computer and basically utilize all of the hardware that you've invested in. The Quest 2 is really easy to set up and has some phenomenal features when it comes to getting you from not using VR ever through to jumping in a game or watching a movie or working out with friends, even though you might be in different parts of the world. Now, there are definitely drawbacks when it comes to VR, a lot of issues when it comes to sort of data management and clarity on what's being collected, but I think all in all, the Quest 2 is poised to be the best headset for many users, mostly because of its price and the rich feature set and rich software experiences that you can have in VR now. And I think for anyone who's been sitting on the fence like me from the day launch of the Quest 2, now is the perfect time to jump in. Now, if you enjoyed this video, maybe considering leaving a like. If you like this kind of content and want to hear more, we talk about different kind of tech stuff on this channel a lot. So definitely get subscribed. And if you wanted to check out more relevant content, I'm sure something will be popping up on your screen right now. Either way, guys, my name's been Pedro, and I hope you all have a good one.